Hey everyone, it's technology expert Burton Kelso here with another tech tip to help you get the most out of the technology in your life. Today we're talking about what the heck happened to Bard, meaning Google Bard. Actually, I've got a surprise the other day where I went to google.bard and I actually came up to the screen for Gemini. Gemini has taken over as the new AI for Google. So to kind of give you a background why I'll get that out of one of these days. There is a change is that it's the anniversary of Bard. And so with branding, Google decided to change it to Gemini. So that's right. Last year around February 8th, Google released Bard to compete with ChatGPT. I almost forgot about that. And to compete against Microsoft Bing Chat, which is now Copilot. Probably by the end of the year, I'm not going to know the name of any of these AI tools because we've been talking about them in their old names. But what is up with Gemini? Well, if you take a look at Gemini, it's essentially Bard with a new name. But there are some new features that are in Gemini, I almost said Bard again, that you may notice. So let's take a look. Obviously, just like the old Chat GPT format, you can enter your prompts down here in the lower section of the screen. You can upload an image to Bard in order to have AI work with it. And one of the things that I love in both Copilot and in Gemini is that you can use the microphone to enter your prompts as opposed to having to use a keyboard to type all that stuff out. Now, has any of the AI engine changed within Gemini? Not necessarily. You can still enter your prompts, and if you've noticed, if I go back to the main screen for Gemini, the URL is the same, but you could also go to Google, type in bar.google.com, and lo and behold, it redirects you to Gemini. Nothing fancy about that, right? Well, not really. But as you can see, the good thing about Gemini is that if you've got an account or a Google account with Gemini, all of your previous prompts will transfer over. So there's no loss there. Now, the interface is a little bit more robust as far as the things that you can upload with Gemini. Now, one of the things that I liked about old Gemini, which we'll call Bard, is the simple fact that it led you a little bit more as far as its prompts are concerned. So, for example, let's go back to Gemini, if I can remember that name, and type in a prompt. Can you, what's the word that I'm looking for? Oh, let's say generate tips on how I can, let's see here, fix a clogged drain. And let's see if it still works the same way, which it should. So once we put our prompt in, we get our little Gemini, but definitely it's going to give you things that you can do. But the thing I always loved about Bard and now with Gemini, they give you additional tips in your prompt when you enter in information. So it's almost like a benevolent Google, which makes sense since Gemini is coming from Google. Now, some of the other things that you have to remember is that Gemini is now Gemini 1.0. So it's like they've thrown out the whole Bard brand and it's Gemini 1.0. The other thing that is different with Gemini is the fact that now, and let me switch to my desktop, you've got Gemini Advanced. So if you go to gemini.com/, or gemini.google.com and go /advanced, it gives you Gemini Advanced, which gives you more things to do if you pay $20 a month. So some of that, if you look at Gemini free, you get it's basically set up for everyday needs. So most of you that are watching this video, Gemini plain is good enough. So writing, planning, learning, and more, and then integrated with Google Apps you already know and love. Gemini is already included. Now, if you're a more advanced Google user, then obviously you're going to sign up with Gemini Advanced in order to take advantage of more of the complicated tools that come with Gemini. For example, you can do a little bit more coding with Gemini Advanced as you would with the plain version of Gemini. So if you're a high-end user, then you would want to go with Gemini Advanced. Now, some of the things that are occurring with Gemini are the same things that are happening with Microsoft Copilot, which is that you will be able to integrate or have integrated access to Gemini with Gemini Advanced in your Google Docs, much like Microsoft is doing with Copilot and Microsoft Office. And the good thing with Gemini, actually giving you 2 months free to try it out, to find out if you want to use it. But again, for most of you watching this video, then you probably are going to be fine with Gemini plain and simple. Now, one of the other things that's happening with Gemini is there are apps for that. So looky here. If you are an Android user, I got to hold up the right device, or an Apple user, hold them up together at the same time, there are apps that are available. One of the biggest gripes with Bard is there was no app. Now the app was Google Chrome, so you could easily download Google Chrome onto your Android or your iPhone and access Bard through that app. But now with Gemini, in the coming weeks, there will be apps available for both Android and iPhone users, making the portable AI work a lot better on a smart device than it would a phone. But it was just shocking to go in and see this pop up on my devices as opposed to going with Google Bard. Now, one of the things that you do have to remember with Gemini is one of the disclaimers. Let me go back to the screen here. Understand that your conversations are processed by human reviewers to improve the technologies powering Gemini apps. So don't enter anything you wouldn't want viewed or used. So keep that in mind when you're entering your prompts in here. Now, this is going to be kind of funny. Let's go to, I love this, how conversations improve Gemini. Just by having conversations, it's basically telling you that you can improve Gemini and the machine language model by your prompts. So at the same time, reviewers need to look at your prompts and see if the information isn't what you want. Now, according to this disclaimer that appears on Gemini and some of the other AI tools, it says it says that you can turn off Gemini apps. That's what I was getting to. So let's go to Gemini apps and there you go. If you go to Gemini apps activity, you can turn it on, turn off and delete activity. You can leave it off. You can tell it delete activity older than 18 months. And of course, Google says that they protect and manage your privacy and security. So keep that in mind, that what you could use. Now, some of the activity that I've entered in, which is going to be interesting, let's scroll through and look at some of my prompts. So if you go to the website myactivity.google.com, this is a lot easier than it was with Bard, going in and making sure that your activity isn't being used and isn't being scanned. One of the differences between Gemini and Bard. But we can look at our prompts and see what's going on. Now, with the app generator, let's see if I can see it from here. I'm going to grab a prompt and give you an example of how the app generator in Google works a little bit different than you would see in Copilot or other programs. So I'm going to paste something in as a prompt, and then let's go ahead and generate this by going to submit. What'll happen with the image generator in, I almost said Bard again. I can't believe that. In Gemini, I'm going to get used to this. It gives it a few seconds, but what I don't like is these are photorealistic, but they're too photorealistic, if that makes sense. Almost like it's just snagging images off of the internet, except for that image there. So I would roll with it, see what you think of Gemini, and then leave your comments below and let me know what you think of Gemini. But I'm more interested about the apps that are coming down the road, which would make me use this more than I have ChatGPT or even Bing Chat or, you guessed it, Copilot. So as always, again, leave your comments at the comment section below. Let me know what you think of Gemini and what changes you notice using the product. Now, with every video, please make sure that you are comment, liking, and sharing it with your friends, because I know there are people out there that are using AI and need to know tips and tricks as far as which tools are going to be the best. With that said, with every video, my goal is to make sure that you are getting most from the technology devices you're using at home and at work, and making sure that you're staying up to date with the latest things that are just being dropped in our laps, just like Gemini. I love technology. I've read all the manuals, and I'm serious about making technology fun, safe, and easy to use for everyone. So take care of yourself and do many things to make you smile. And thanks for watching.